Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toffee Blues, and welcome to our transfer deadline day live that we do every year. I'm joined here by Paul. How are you doing?
I'm not bad, mate. For you? It's been a couple of months, hasn't it? Since I think
Yeah,
the
as
last.
it's been a while. I think it's a bit of it's an interesting deadline day this because I think it's a bit of a low in a sense of terms of how good the overall window's been, and even the performances in the league that we've seen so far. Besides the first one, I think they've been really good. I think there's a little bit of disappointment over the lack of a signing of a right back, but it does look like we're getting in the defensive midfielder that we desperately need, with Merlin Roll apparently coming in from Freiburg. Hopefully that should be announced anytime soon. It looks like that's all basically wrapped up, along with a 25 million euro option to buy, I believe. It was one of the big positions we need, especially with AFCON coming up in January. But just to go on to the right back topic quickly, because we don't want to talk about it forever. How do you feel about the fact that it looks like we're not, at least until January, going to be going with Jake O'Brien as a starting right back?
Uh, I'm at the point now when it comes to Everton and signing the right back where I think there's going to be hotel resorts on the moon before Everton get a right back, a long term one. It seems like every single transfer window we go into it thinking that that is the absolute must sort out position. And we seldom get linked to anyone, never mind actually properly go in and get someone. It looks like the club basically bet the barn early doors. They went all out for Kenny Tete, and maybe we thought that they had him. And then when he did an about face and re-signed with Fulham at the last minute, it doesn't feel like much effort's really gone into scouting a right back. I think, as you say, it's probably one of the, if not the most key position of the team we needed to strengthen. It was certainly the second or third one. And other than Kenny Tete early on in the summer, it doesn't really feel like we put much forth. Well, the club haven't anyway into trying to get anyone in for that part of the team. So yeah, I'm disappointed, but I don't think people should be letting that define the window. I could be in the minority, but I think overall this has been a very good window for Everton, very strong window. We'll go into more detail about it as we go on the stream and what I'd give it out of 10. But with the amount of work that had to be done at the back end of last season, when last season finished, the amount of players that we had to bring into this team to get it looking anywhere near ready to kick on and do anything. David Moyes said himself, didn't he? We need to sign 9 or 10 players, and that was just to have any sort of sniff of, being anything more than just a team that fights relegation. And how many players will this lad be from Germany? Would he be the ninth sign of the window?
I've just counted. Yeah, this will be the ninth one.
Well, yeah, he'll be the ninth one, and of those 9 signings that we'll have, such was it happens, how many of them are actually, first team signs? As if we're going to see them, they're going to get plenty of minutes this summer. 7, maybe. I think the only 2 who maybe might not get minutes is obviously the goal.
I think we've got 2 who'll start every game, but then you've got the other 4 or 5 that are going to be in and around playing a lot for us. Dibling's going to play a lot, Barry's going to play a lot, Alcaraz. We'll see about Asno. We have to see him play first.
Well, I don't think we will really see Asno. I don't think, unless an absolute needs must scenario, I think we'll probably if we're going to see him at all, we might see him in the under 23s. I mean, I'd like to think that when we signed him, he's at that level. He's played plenty of senior football, hasn't he, in his young career?
Yeah, I think it'll just be like sub appearances, 20-minute, 15-minute sub cameos if Mikalenko's, tired, and then it'll be cup starts. He might get a start against one of the crap teams in the league if we keep going the way we're going.
I don't think so, mate. I don't even think he'll get that. Moyes doesn't tend to play teenagers and never has.
Exactly.
I think if you see Asmir at any point before January, it'll be because David Moyes has hands forced by injuries. I think, as we've seen, I don't know if he was definitely injured for the opening game against Leeds. There seems a bit of confusion over that, but I don't even think Asmir at this point is even our second choice left back. I think he'd probably be more inclined to put James Garner there again, or Coleman try O'Brien or Coleman at the left back. I'd be very surprised if we see anything of Asmir. I think he's very much been this summer's kind of committee type signing where he's been available, he's cheap. The club think it might be worth, bringing him in and seeing if we can develop him and seeing if we can, do anything where we can maybe sell him for a profit 2-3 years down the line, or maybe he could come into the team when he gets a chance and he looks a worldly at times. I don't know, but of all the signs we've got this summer, the point was there's only two of them who I don't expect to see, and that was Travers, who hopefully we don't see, not against him, but he's only getting the team if anything happens to Pickford. And Asmu, I don't think Asmu gets in the team because of his age, really. I think, but everyone else who we've signed, Barry, I think will get plenty of minutes over provided he stays fit. Might not start every game. I think he'll alternate with Beto. That's what you want. You want strikers who are constantly competing with each other. Alcaraz, I think, will be a handy squad player, and I think he'll probably sit on the bench more games than he starts. But he's going to he's a really good, effective player who you can bring off the bench, especially if you want to go for a goal. You've got Dibling, who again is very young, but I think he's one of those signs Everton haven't made enough of over the last 10 years. Just a player who is going to come in and play 30 minutes, but is very much we've bought him for 2 or 3 years. We haven't bought him with the intention of selling him in a few years like we have with Asmu, like we maybe did with Onana. We bring in, he's a sort of Moise Keane type signing as when he's a project where we think we're bringing him in and we're going to hopefully unleash him when the time feels right, and in 3-4 years he's going to be our main man. But yeah, I just think it's been a very good window. We haven't got every single position we needed to sort out, but the amount of work that needs to do to the squad, it feels like they've done almost everything they could have.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those where some news that looks like as well. It looks like Harrison Armstrong is going to be going to Preston on loan. I wonder the length of that is what I will say.
There'll be a call option in that, you'd imagine, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I feel like that's one where it might, if he's doing really well, if he keeps up like his form that he was in for Derby anyway, if he's playing a deeper role for Preston, we'll see. It really won't surprise me, if he's called back in January because of AFCON. Played really good against Mansfield.
If he goes to Preston and he looks absolutely great, then I don't think we'll call him back because we're like, oh, he's so good, we need to get him in our team. I think, as you touched on there, I think the only chance Armstrong comes back before the end of the season, if he is definitely going on loan, it will be because we've got injuries. Maybe I don't want to tempt fate, but maybe this German kid who we're bringing in doesn't cut it. Maybe Gay has to go to AFCON. Maybe Gay gets injured. Maybe Garner's a player who tends to get an injury every season. Doesn't he? Has Garner played 130 games for us in half of the seasons he's been here?
I think Garner's been really good this season, to be fair. Besides that first game against Leeds, I think even against Brighton at left back, he was struggling against Minter. But
I meant in the sense of Garner's a player who picks up injuries. So in the years he had Garner for 3 seasons now.
This will be the third. Yeah.
Well, in all 3 seasons that Garner's had, it feels like he's had each of those seasons he's had an injury at some point, but just kept him out for 2 or 3 months. So he's a player who is not going to be. He's not going to be a player who we can get 38 league games out of. Is what I'm saying. So there's going to be possibly a need to bring back a Harrison Armstrong. Is what I'm saying. But yeah, I was hoping he would go out on loan too because he did look like the loan at Derby gave him in the world of good. So let's send him back to the Championship and let him fill out, let him play men's football, but let's get him on a slightly better team who are looking up the table rather than down the table. And he's not too far away. He's staying in the northwest, isn't he? I think David Moyes still lives around Preston, close to there. So wouldn't shock me if Moyes actually pops down to a game if he gets the chance and scouts him in person. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Moyes, even when he does send young players out on loan, he's always like to send them to clubs that are close by to the club he's managing, so he can really keep his eye on them.
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, I think it has been a really good window. I think the right back thing is a little bit disappointing because of how desperate it was, but I do think we can survive until January without one. I think it's just one of those where it's a need, but to be honest with you, I don't think any of us should have expected us to get every need solved. To say we've had probably every other major need solved, except one of the main ones. But I think you look at the signings. I think we will obviously. Well, we might as well start now until some news gets in about going in a bit of detail about him. I think there's only one player to start off with really, and it's Grealish. I think when he came on against Leeds at first, it looked a little bit like the Pep stuff was still there in him. It seemed he preferred to turn and pass back drive a few times, but it seemed more focused on touching the byline. But then look at what happens his first start against Brighton.
He was chucked in very late in the day against. I think Moyes made a mistake in that game. Should have brought. He couldn't start, and he should have brought him on at least at half time. And they bring him on with like 20 minutes left, if that, less.
Yeah, I think you notice the change in the game as well. I think, but you look at the Brighton game, the Wolves game, 2 assists in both. He looks exactly how he did at Villa. It looks like, I think a big worry for a lot of us was, could he recapture that? And to be honest, I don't know if any of us, even myself, who had a lot of faith in this, expected it to click this quickly. It's been immediate, where it feels like the shackles have come off almost straight away, and you can see the difference in quality, like a player like Grealish has, compared to most players on the pitch against every team will play, even against Brighton, who have a lot of good players. You just notice the standard in the quality, the difference, the eye for a pass, even the defensive work rate he's shown for us. He's got no problem with tracking back, getting involved defensively. I think it's for a loan where, we're paying a lot of his wages. Right now, obviously, touch wood, nothing happens. Even right now, it looks worth every penny so far.
Well, it's all on the individual, mate. People were not sure about Grealish, and I count myself as one of them, but it's not because Grealish is just a bad player or hasn't looked like a good player for ages. He's always looked like a good player. He's just in a very, stifling system, playing under a stifling manager. But the issue was we've just had too many of these type of signings. We've seen too many of them not work, and not at Everton and at other clubs as well. We've seen, players leave Man City and get away from Pep Guardiola, and you think that they're going to go back to being what they were prior to signing for City, and it doesn't pan out like that. That happened with Calvin Phillips at West Ham, didn't it? There's another example. Leo Sane went to Bayern Munich, and he's a good player, but never quite looked like the superstar that he looked like he was going to be at one point at City. So yeah, he was another player. He didn't really went sideways at best when he left Man City. Who's another one who went? I'm thinking of the kid who went to Barcelona. Ferran Torres was another one. Cancelo, and just going back to these Everton examples, we've had players who come to join us on loan and we just don't cut it. Like Dele Alli is the obvious one, isn't it? I mean, that might seem harsh to some people, because I know a lot of Dele Alli's problems were off the pitch related, that whether people blame, hold that against them or not. But yeah, just people were nervous about getting Grealish in, or maybe just not excited by it, because we've just seen too many of those signs where we think, all that player needs is an arm around them. All he needs to do is play in a team that doesn't, put them in position, and they'll just go back to being the player they were 5 years before. And it was about time that one of those signings came off for us. We were, a successful one, and touch wood and carry on. This is a successful one. It's early doors, yeah, isn't it? You said we don't want anything happening to Grealish, but if he can play to the standards over the course of the season that he has in these first 2 games that he's played in properly, because I don't really count the Leeds one. If he can play over the course, if the levels he's reaching, then Everton will be a real threat this season, and he's immediately come in and just been our best player. If you're in the Everton team now, you just, all I'm saying is just get the ball and give it to Grealish. If I'm in the defence, if I'm in the midfield, all I'm doing is win the ball back, give it to Grealish, and he'll just make sure it happens. He's an absolute X-factor player. He's a match winner. He'll get us up the pitch. He'll win us fouls. He'll score us goals. He'll get us worldly assists. He'll just, he'll skin opposition players. They must be looking at it thinking, "Oh my God, like I've never played with a player this good before." It must have been the same for the players 4 or 5 years ago when James Rodriguez turned up at Prince Round. They must be looking at him thinking, "Bloody hell! Like I never thought to play with someone this good." You know what I mean? I've only read about this fella, and I've only seen this fella on documentaries. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm made up with Grealish, and let's hope that he has a really long, successful season, and it can be a long-term relationship.
Yeah, I think the Grealish thing, I think what makes it so different to some of the players we've signed in the past from big clubs is it looks like he actually wants to be here, which helps. He sort of embraced Everton immediately and everything about it, which, there's similarities between us and Villa, so I can kind of understand how it wasn't really that hard for him to adjust. But yeah, I think it's a lot of these big name players will come to Everton, and in the past it's just been collect a paycheck. Grealish has come in and looks like someone who, has come in and gone, no, I actually want to play football. I want to succeed. I want to, it feels a lot more like he cares more about, for example, personal achievements in football than something like money, which I think is the problem we've had in the past, especially in the Moshiri era, of differentiating players from that. And I think all of a sudden now you get a player who is on a massive wage and he's won it all. You know, he's won everything with City you could possibly want to win, and then all of a sudden comes to us and it looks like that fire hasn't really left. And so I think it's positive in all of the way, because even if it is just a 1 year thing, someone like that can have such an impact on a club. And look what he did for Villa. After he left, they were able to keep moving upwards. Yeah, they got all the money for him, but I think it's a morale thing. If you can bring the morale of the team up, and then you can keep it when he's gone, hopefully we can sign him.
It's a perception thing as well. For the players, a lot of players who turned us down this summer and have turned us down over the last few years because they just look at Everton and they think, no, that's a club that's on its arse. That's a club where you only go there if you've got no other good options on the table. You only go there if they're stupid enough to throw big money at you. Like they're not a club that are on the up. They're not a club that have got a challenge for anything. They're not a club who've got a manager who I'm going to enjoy playing with. They haven't got any good players who I think, oh yeah, I'd love to get on the end of his crosses. I'd love to have him in goal behind me. It's a perception thing. A lot of really pansy players, you think, young players who maybe are going to be getting big moves over the next 2-3 years, they'll look at it and they'll go, well, it's good enough for Jack Grealish. It might be good enough for me. So you'd like to think, wouldn't you? But yeah, I think it just helps the club's sort of reputation when it comes to convincing agents and players, because we've been a club who, if I was a young player who had no connection to Everton or an agent, I'd be going absolutely nowhere near Everton. I'd say, no, if it's a choice between stay where you are or go to Everton, I'd stay where you are, because there's be another club coming for you. If you go to Everton, you're going to get hard. They are going nowhere quick.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of similar with Dewsbury Hall. He wasn't at Chelsea for as long, so it's not really the same, but massive contributor to winning the Conference League. Should they have won it? Yeah, of course they could look at their squad was probably worth more than the entire competition combined, but you know, it's one of those where he's come in, and I think he's been really good as well, especially against Wolves. The one thing that I do like about him is, like you mentioned, just get the ball to Grealish, something like that. That's something he does. He'd come. What I noticed against Brighton, anywhere, he'd come deep and then immediately fire the ball out to the wing as quickly as he can. And he's not one of those where, like, for example, if Decore had done that, it had probably went out for a throw-in. You know, but it's one of those where he's technically good enough to pick the ball up from deep. Yeah, and then I got reminded of him after seeing that fitting where they compared Roll to Decore and Jack Harrison, and I'm convinced someone on FB Ref has done that to wind Everton fans up. But I think it's another one where he's a really good player, you can tell. And you notice the difference in attack with Grealish and Dewsbury Hall. We went from barely being able to create a chance to save our lives last year to creating plenty, it feels like. You know, when were the last time we were putting free past teams? You know, the defensive performance in the second half against Wolves were, you know, something to not look back on. But you look at that and die goal, the build up into that. How long has it been since we've seen something like that at Everton?
Yeah, it's been a while, but that's just down to the level of players we've had in the team. We've been so far off it as a club for the last 4 or 5 years that we've only been able to attract, you know, dogs, basically, just players who try hard but don't have any quality. And don't have players with any quality, you're not going to see any quality moments on the pitch. So, yeah, it's just hopefully you'd like to think that, you know, we'll get back to the type of club we want to be, which is players who work really hard and have spirit and play with the chest puffed out, but I've got a sprinkle of quality and a bit of fire on top of that, rather than just, you know, lucky losers, which it just feels like Everton have embraced being for too long, and certain people have embraced it for too long, and it has to stop. But no, yeah, it feels a lot better watching Everton now. What's his face said it on Match of the Day the other night. Said I can't remember the last time I actually enjoyed watching Everton as a neutral. I think he said Everton just because it's been a news must, hasn't it? The type of players we've had, the managers we've had. It was the only way we could get points. We just had to grind teams down, and there's a place for that. But we're in a club that has got ambitions, long-term ambitions of doing something in the game, like winning cups or getting into Europe. That's only going to take you so far, that approach. So, Yeah, I'm pleased that we're actually seeing footballers who can control the ball now instead of just running around like big headless chickens. I'm glad that we're actually players who can slide in a decent pass rather than just booting it after the player. I'm sick of having to see it just long ball it, back Calvert Lewin could get a lucky flick on. I'm sick of just asking to call it and run around just aimlessly, hoping that his physical presence could do something. We've actually got proper players who can control the ball now and can link up with one another. So look, hopefully it will bode well for a very happy, successful season.
Yeah, I think the next few signings probably bubble into an I don't know yet. Dibbling only really got a minute against Mansfield. Did he even come on against Wolves?
No.
No. And then Barry, who has had a bit more. And I think Barry's an interesting one because I don't get why people are already like, we need another striker. We've signed a young lad who, from what I've seen, looks very good. He's miles better than Beto in terms of building up and getting other players involved. And I think, that's something we've, we complained about with Beto. And then when we get a striker who can do it, we complain again. And I get it. Like, he hasn't come in and banged 4 goals in all of a sudden. But
exactly. People just like, I'll just say people just like being miserable. They like just bullying players. They like just writing them off at the first chance. Because he hasn't scored yet, basically. He's played what? He's played a game. He's played a game and a half. If he had all his minutes up, come on now. He's playing in a team. He's playing in a brand new team in a brand new country. How old's Barry? Is he 20?
22. It's there.
He's 22. Still young for a striker. He's in a brand new league. He's playing in England as well, which is always a culture shock for these young, centre forwards when they come and they realise that they're not going to get the level of protection that they were used to get in Spain or Italy or whatever. Maybe he pans out and he's not very good. I don't know. How anyone can make a solid opinion on him based on what they've seen so far. It's just ridiculous. They're just desperate to moan and write someone off and have a whipping boy and then look at him and think that maybe we can say anything to the whipping boy. No, forget it. Now, just go back to the striker situation, mate, because I've not really had much chance to keep track of what's been going on today. Has Youssef Committee officially gone?
Yeah, I believe it's £8 million to Rangers. I've been seeing it since this morning that he was on Sky, that he was at the training ground. So it's happened. I think it's a disappointing one, but if there's like a 20% sell-on clause in there, we've made our money back. It didn't work out for the lad. Unfortunate. Move on from it. I don't think he's going to turn into this absolute machine because I'm going to be honest, even if he scores 25 goals in Scotland, nicest way possible, it's Scotland. It's like League One level, So we're probably going to make our money back on him because I think it'll be decent if he does score goals in Scotland. Can easily see a Portuguese club snapping him up for 15 mil, 20% sell on. There you go. We've practically made most of our money back on him. I'm not going to sit and complain if it ends up overall being a £1 million loss on Chimity. It's a loss, but it's a silly thing to complain about. Really, it didn't work out. We've got some money for him this window. There you go.
Just a vanity project by Felwell, on the sounds of it. Yeah, he was probably available for a £5 a week when we signed him 2 years ago, whenever it was. Now he's been unlucky with injuries, I know, but Sean Dyche didn't fancy him at all. And if anyone goes, well, it's Sean Dyche, Sean Dyche doesn't know a player. David Moyes, have a look at him, and David Moyes playing doesn't fancy him either. So if two managers who between them know a little bit about, centre forwards in this country and about what it takes to sort of not be an absolute class striker, but be a striker who can make a difference in a Premier League team. If a pair of them look at him and think he's not up to it, then he's clearly he's not going to be up to it. There's always the odd player who gets away, isn't there? Like I was going to say Moyes' team then, but even these young players who've left Everton over the last 4, 5, 6 seasons, they had to leave Everton to become good players. Moyes' team, had he stayed at Everton, wouldn't have become the player he is now at Fiorentina. Adam Lookman had stayed at Everton, wouldn't have become the player he's gone on to become for Atalanta. Sometimes it's just players who need something to happen in their career. They need adversity in order to reach down inside themselves and fulfill potential. And Moyes Keane looks like he's one of them. Lookman looks like he's one of them. Who knows, old committee. Maybe he'll just go to Rangers, he'll bang some goals in, and he'll get another big move, and he'll get another shot at a big league at some point. Maybe he just goes to Rangers and he plays into obscurity and does not. I don't know, but it was just a weird signing, but I'm glad we've got some money back for them. And clearly Kevin Felwell sees something in him, so let Kevin Felwell take him.
Yeah, I completely forgot. It's Kevin Felwell at Rangers, isn't it? It's going well for them so far. I think it's the transfer window has been really good. I'm just sat refreshing Twitter trying to see something about forgot his name already now. Merlin. I'm just going to call him Merlin.
That'll get done. Like I said, there's always
medical, aren't he? So even if it doesn't get done before the deadline, they just do that bloody extension.
The only way it doesn't happen is if something's come up in his medical and you think, oh no, we're not paying, X amount up front. There's a chance that's going to flare up at some point. So yeah, as long as his medical's gone all right, then he's going to sign because they'll put the deal sheet in and that gives them an extra couple of hours, whatever it is, to actually, cross the T's and dot the I's. So yeah, I'm glad we got a number 6. And I know, again, people are upset with the right back, but if you said to me to start the window, you can either leave yourself short up front or leave yourself short at right back. I'd have said leave yourself short at right back.
Yeah.
We haven't left ourselves short up front, I don't think, because committee was never clear. It was never going to be an option on the David Moyes, was he? Beto and Barry are not going to go to AFCON like a lot of the attacking midfielders and defensive midfielders are. So you think between them, we'll have at least one fit striker for the entirety of the season. And Beto, for all his critics, Beto does get goals. He's already got a couple this season. He's probably going to get a fair amount over the course of the season. Barry, it remains to be seen. I don't know, but I really, we'd love an absolute, another Lukaku or a Jelavic or even someone like a Calvert-Lewin for that period, where in the early period, Calvert-Lewin, when he could still get maybe 9 or 10 a season. You'd like that, but we've just got to wait and see. We've got enough creative players that even a dull striker should be banging some goals in this team.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm just waiting for the clock to tick over now. Yeah, but there you go. The transfer window is officially closed. So I think now's the perfect time to ask Paul. What would you rate this transfer window right now out of 10, assuming Merlin Roll comes in as well?
I'd rate it an 8.5. We've rebuilt the team completely. We signed, if you count that Merlin, we signed 7 players who you think are definitely going to play in the first team over the course of the season. We've got 3 centre midfielders. We've got
Dewsbury Hall, Roll,
yeah.
Am I missing something?
4 if you count Alcaraz.
Alcaraz. Yeah.
Alcaraz, Kieran Dewsbury Hall,
Roll. Don't think we've signed anyone else, but I don't think we needed to because I think.
I know we're going to play Grealish on the left, but you can't. Grealish is.
Grealish could play in the 10 if we needed him. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so we've signed a lot. We've added a lot more creativity to the team. We've added a lot more pace. We've kept all the Jared Brentwaite, who I didn't think we would keep hold of at the end of last season. I thought we'd lose them this summer. I think we've got Pickford tied down to a new deal, didn't we?
Well, yeah, Pickford's probably not going until he retires now.
Pickford's not going anywhere anytime soon. The team just on paper looks so much better than it did a year ago. So whether that means we're ready to push on and maybe challenge for Europe, I still don't know. Still think it's a bit early for that. But we're not a team who I think at any point should be looking over our shoulder this season. Surely not. Surely not. You look at some of the teams who've come up and the teams who have lost some of their big players. I mean, I don't think Palace are going to be in main trouble, but they've lost Eze and as Gay got his move to Liverpool.
Gay's gone to Liverpool and they've signed a backup centre half from Brighton to replace him.
Who knows? But there's a lot of teams in and around the middle part of the table who have, on paper at least, look weak. They've lost big name players, haven't they? And a lot of teams are going to be playing in Europe. Forest, I don't think are going to be as strong this season. They've got European.
Forest looks that first game where Chris Wood banged them in. That's one of those where you start the season off well. Everyone gets a little. It's happened to us so many times. You start the season off well, you get your hopes up, and then you realise. I think Forest are just going to be like 13th. I could easily see them finishing like 15th if they focus completely on. They do a United and try to focus completely on the Europa League. But yeah, I do think a lot of it. Fulham, they've just signed a player called Kevin from Shakhtar.
I think prior to today, did they actually spend any money? Fulham, I don't think they have.
Now they've spent 50 mil, I think.
Yeah, well, as of yesterday, they had spent £0 in the transfer window. I think they only had fees. And Fulham haven't had a great window on the surface of it. Villa haven't had a great window. Newcastle.
Villa's another weird one, yeah, where it's...
Villa's a weird one. Newcastle have had an absolute disaster of a window. I know they've made a couple of signings late doors, but we never thought the situation with East could happen. Missed out on it's Tiki. He didn't get that lad who Zesco either. So God knows what type of season Newcastle are going to have now when the dust settles. United look just as bad as they did, if not worse. Now they're just spiraling away. I know they've got a couple of points from the first few games, but oh my God, do they look like they're going to do anything this season?
Well, I mean, bloody Grimsby have packed them in. Burnley should have beat them. I think it's a weird one, because it's like if you look at the bottom, is it bottom 6 of the table? None of the newly promoted sides are in it. It's Brentford, West Ham, Newcastle, Fulham.
I know we got beat by them, but I've watched quite a bit of Leeds' first few games. I think Leeds are going to struggle.
They only. It's a thing, and I said this on or in whatever video I did that covered it. If it weren't for that really dodgy penalty, we both could have played for another 180 minutes and neither team had scored. We're just.
I think Leeds, the only chance they've got of staying up will be if you go and get a certain Mr. Sean Dyche. But Burnley, I don't know. Burnley look a lot different than when they did last time they came up.
Yeah, I think Sunderland are the only team that stay up. I do think Sunderland are going to stay up.
Sunderland have had a really good window. I want to say they fought well, haven't they? Brentford are an interesting proposition. They've got a very untested manager. Brentford are one of those clubs that just constantly surprise you, don't they?
Yeah. I think I don't think that striker they've signed looks too bad either. Oh, the one they signed last year, that Thiago, he actually looks quite all right. I don't know if he'll put the goals in that Mbuemo and Tony did, but I think they'll be fine. They've just got Reece Nelson from Arsenal, I think. I don't know what to think about like West Ham because I think West Ham are another bin fire. I think I know they got a good result yesterday against Forest, but I don't see Graham Potter making it to before Christmas. I'd be surprised if that was the case. It just looks like that's going nowhere. That looks very like it does at United with Hammering. I just think that's on a high to nothing, that one. But we'll see. But there's compared to the difference between the end of this summer and the last 3 summers is this summer I can look at the Premier League, even though we've only just played 3 games. I could tell you now at least half a dozen teams who I bet me life will finish above. Yeah.
Whereas last few years, could you pick 3 clubs who will definitely finish above? I could maybe pick one and hope that we get above the other 2.
Yeah, I still think we'll probably finish, but I honestly think we could finish anywhere between like 7th and 12th. I think those positions in the league are just so heavily based on form that, because especially since now I do think United have dropped into that tier. I think they might even be worse, but unfortunately for United fans, they are in that mid-table Premier League club tier where I think it's a weird position where none of them are massively better than the other, but it's just all, do you have a good run of form? How good are you at home? Things like that.
How lucky are you with injuries? How many dodgy results do you get? Dodgy refereeing decisions do you get?
Yeah, exactly that. So I think, looking at it now, we're 5th in the league after 3 games, 2 wins. Disappointing one against Leeds, but we're coming up against a very shaky Aston Villa next, who will have time to bed in the new signings. Harvey Elliott, saying that Victor Lindelof's one of the other signings. Bloody, we're not talking world beaters here, but we're in a position now where I'd genuinely be shocked if we're within 20 points of relegation.
Yeah, I don't see that. I mean, how many points are you going to need to stay up this season? It's
like what? It's not 40 anymore, is it? It's like mid-30s.
What was it? I don't even think it was 30 last season, was it?
No, but I think that's a special. I think the promoted sides this year are miles better than they were last year.
If I'm Everton, I'm looking at it rather than in terms of aiming for a league position. I'm looking for a points tally. Now we've got 48 the last 2 seasons on the run because I'm not counting
to 60. I'd say
we've won 48 points in the last 2 seasons when we were on our arse basically, but in terms of like the squad and recruitment and old players and things like that. We've got a brand new team, so we should be getting in the mid-50s, I think. 60 points, if you can get to 60, more often than not, that gets you Europe. I'm not going to tempt fate and say we'll get to 60 points.
Oh, it gets you 10th if you've got Carlo Ancelotti as the manager.
Well, that was one of the very few seasons I didn't do it, but yeah, no. We used to always get somewhere in the mid-60s, and the Moyes the first time. We used to always get 4th, 5th, or 6th with that. Nowadays, if you get 60, you probably get 7th or 8th.
You'll get Conference League because an English team's going to win the Conference League. An English team's probably going to win the Europa League again.
It's Crystal Palace.
I think Palace could win the Europa League.
I think they could win. I think they could win it, but it's how seriously they take it and what they do. I mean, it's whether Glasner wants to win it. Glasner's won a couple of trophies in his career as a manager now. He won the FA Cup with Palace. He won the Europa League, I think, with Frankfurt. So whether he wants, it would look good on his CV if he gets it. But would Crystal Palace and Oliver Glasner think, right, we'll take going to win the Conference League, even if it means having a potential relegation battle? Or would they look at it and think, no, sod off the Conference League, let's just consolidate and look to finish.
I think they're one of the clubs where even if they don't focus on the league at all, they'll still finish like 14th. And it depends. If I'm a Palace fan and someone goes, here's 14th, or here's 14th, but you win the Conference League, I'd probably take it just because it guarantees European football again in a higher competition, which means they'll be able to bring in better players again.
Yeah, as fans, we look at it like that, but will the Crystal Palace hierarchy or will the Crystal Palace hierarchy turn around and say to Oliver Glasner, because we know they're pragmatists, we know they're all about, stability and ensuring that there's no drama. But they turn around and say to Oliver Glasner, "Mate, bin that off. Just make sure that by April time you've got us around 11th, 10th, 13th, and then it's fine. Just forget about the cup. We're not bothered."
Yeah, possibly. We don't really know.
Like I said, going back to Everton, if you get 60 points, that most likely will get you 8th or 9th, won't it? At least, if not slightly higher. So if Everton can get back in the top half this season and maybe do something in the cup as well, have a run in the League Cup or the FA Cup, just get a big standout results, like somehow win a derby or beat, I don't know, Arsenal or Chelsea away or something like that. Just give us something that we can look back on the season and be really happy about and really remember proudly, rather than just one of those seasons where there was no kind of standout moments. Maybe there's a goal here or there, but as much as we want steady progress, you'd also want something that you can sort of cling to and get romantic about, can't you? So hopefully we can do that, whether it's a little cup run, whether it's a magical win, whether it's a really sort of famous standout goal that gets you to like Tarkowski's against Liverpool. Just something that way in years to come we'll look back at and think that was the first season in Bramley Moore, and I remember it specifically for this sort of thing.
100%. I do think we'll get that. I'm not sure. I could see a semi-final of a cup. Which one? I'm not jinxing it. I don't know. But I think this team is quite suited to that. Even in the Brighton game, I think we've showed that we can be under pressure for a majority of the game. And I think weirdly compared to older years, you give us one decent chance, we can take it, sort of thing now. Which
we haven't got Calvert-Lewin up front now, fitness and City, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, in a cup run, sometimes you can get dominated for a game, and all you need is one or two quick goals, completely changes the atmosphere. So to get back to the transfers, I think I'd agree with you. I think I had it as a 7 yesterday or the day before, but I did say it'd be a 10 if we got a right back and a defensive midfielder. We've got the defensive midfielder, so I'll meet in the middle from 7 and 10, 8.5. I agree. I think the right back issue will be solvable in January. I think, again, touch wood, as long as we get no major injuries, we should be fine. Jared Branthwaite will be back at the end of this month. So it's one of those where I think the defence will settle. We had one of the best defences in the league with no right back previously. So I think O'Brien's better than what we've had in terms of 90-year-old Seamus Coleman. And who I don't think was bad the other day when he against Myfield, by the way. But and Nathan Patterson, who I don't think I trust him to play for our under-21s.
I was going to ask about him. Did he go out on loan in the end? Have we seen anything about that?
Sevilla didn't end up selling that Juanlu. So he's still with us.
Yeah, as you said, I don't want to see Nathan Patterson on the pitch and in the Everton senior team for any reason. But I don't know. Being a warm body doesn't mean that you're adequate cover. I've had this discussion loads We'll see. I mean, hopefully we can sort something out for Nathan Batson, because I think there's other transfer windows that shut tomorrow around Europe, isn't there?
Well, Scotland's not till 11 tonight. And then there's I think it's like Portugal and stuff like that. The non-major European leagues might be tomorrow. I know like Saudi is, but I'd be surprised if Saudi go in for Nathan Parson. So, yeah, I think it's one of those where
sounds going there, but
we'll have to see. Well, while Paul's sorting his sound out, I think, I think there's not really that much more to go over, to be honest. Let me see if I refresh my Twitter here. If we get anything interesting, we've got more. Yeah, it looks like there's nothing Everton related. We've got more dodgy Chelsea dealings with Strasbourg and Chelsea. Chelsea just binning off Ben Chilwell over at Strasbourg. Bin off his 200 grand a week wages like it's easy. Bloody. But yeah,
you know what move I could see happening next summer or maybe January if he's fit by then? One player I do think we'll see at Everton, Liam Delap.
Yeah.
Got injured. He's been unlucky, hasn't he? He's got that injury at Chelsea, but
finally got a chance and then immediately got injured.
I bet you he's sitting there now, unless he's on a massive wage and he's just collecting that, his weekly wage. But if he, from a footballing point of view, I bet you he's sitting there kicking himself that he went to Chelsea. Not necessarily that he didn't come to Everton because he had a lot of offers, but clearly went to Chelsea because they made him the highest offer in terms of money. And he must have known he was going to find it hard to get minutes, but he didn't get any minutes at all, hardly, in that World Club Cup. And the season started, and I had him in my fantasy team, and I don't think he started either of the first two games. Then he finally starts one of the first.
Yeah, I think he probably thought at first that he could compete with João Pedro, because Pedro's a good player, but I don't think there was this perception that he can be a your 20 goal a season.
No, but Chelsea were never going to start Liam Delap over João Pedro. Come on, of course.
It might have just been a thing he thought, well, if I play better than him, they're going to start me over him.
Yeah, but Liam Delap, for whatever reason, he's not going to. All the 10-year-old Chelsea kids are not going to get Liam Delap on their shirt before they get João Pedro. João Pedro's a Brazilian. He's got the silky skills, things like that. He's just a lot more marketable than Liam Delap is. So I think Delap.
Yeah.
I think one's a lap because he got a bad injury. Is it going to be like 3-4 months for Liam Delap?
Yeah, I think it. I think
Liam Delap will be another Armando Broja, just a player who is kicking around the fringes of Chelsea. Is a bit unlucky at times with injury. Broja was unlucky with injuries at Chelsea. Whenever he seemed to get an opportunity, the curse struck him. But yeah, I think at some point we're going to go back in for Liam Delap, and he'll think about it and say, you know what, I probably should have went to Everton in the summer of 2025. I'm going to take the chance to go there this time.
Yeah, it really won't surprise me if it's next summer, because Chelsea might be sat there thinking he's just come off a big injury. And you know what Chelsea are like? They'll probably be like, let's sign another striker. Especially since apparently they're getting like 60 mil for Nicholas Jackson now off Bayern next year. So bloody, they're going to have, I don't know how they do it, but they're going to have plenty of money. And if there's, what Chelsea are like, if there's a top caliber striker available, they're not going to care about what they've got, especially since João Pedro can play across the three behind the striker as well and play quite well there. Did for Brighton most of the season last season. So it'll be one where it wouldn't surprise me if Delap's at Everton next summer. But I think going off what we've had so far, really good summer in my opinion. I think, if we said, the only issue we'll have at the end of the summer is right back, but everything else will be sorted. I think, again, some fans will be disappointed, but I think a majority would have been like, so every other problem's completely fixed except that one, basically, yeah. And if this role, yeah, exactly. And if this role turns out to be a good player, I've seen a solo goal on Twitter, and I'm convinced now. I've seen him running through an entire team for Freiburg, so again, who's not going to get excited about a big 6'4" defensive midfielder playing for us? It'll bring back some memories. So so it's one of those where we'll have to see. Really good summer in my opinion. We've got the official Toffee Blues channel here, but there's not that one. Do drop a like, but deal sheet will likely be in for roll. So probably expect that one to be announced tomorrow.
Yeah, probably. It'll get announced in the morning or maybe tonight, and there'll be that picture of him sat with our club secretary or whatever, and he'll have his
Everton kit on, or they'll do like a little unveiling where he says something about toffees or something like that. Yeah, no, that's as
They'll
good as
make
done.
some joke.
I'm officially counting that as a done deal.
Everton are going to say we've got a new magician because his name's Merlin or something like that, and then it's going to we know what's about to happen.
Something cringe, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think we've gone over the summer window. I think really positive overall. I do, and I think a lot of the fan base agrees with us. So I think that is the perfect time to call it here. Here's where we find out, just as the stream ends, that we've somehow got a deal sheet in for a right back, but I don't see that happening. So thank you all for watching this live stream. Thank you for coming on, Paul.
Strap yourselves in. The season has officially got going, and let's hope it's a very memorable one for positive reasons.
And if results go our way next week, we will be top of the table right now. Sorry, but I will catch you all for the next video and our live stream that we are on. Goodbye, everyone.